I think the question about where the source of social inequality lies is extremely complicated. Rousseau has a very specific answer to that question. Rousseau says there's a certain passion that defines human beings and that distinguishes us from all other living creatures, and that's responsible for everything that's distinctively human about us. And it's the passion to be well regarded by others. It's the desire to be recognized by other people. And that this passion, though not bad in itself and capable of taking benign and good forms and being satisfied even, is so malleable and so susceptible to being formed in ways that make us desire various forms of inequality in order to achieve a kind of recognition. So it's a way, to put it crudely, the fact that we have this deep drive in us to be well regarded by others so easily turns for us into the desire to be better than others and the desire to be regarded by others as better than others. And this, for Rousseau anyway, is what explains the thing that's deep in human beings that accounts for the drive to inequalities in all kinds of societies and not just capitalist ones. When I started working on Rousseau and the problem of amour propre, the problematic nature of the human drive for recognition, Theodicy was not something I had in mind at all. I was not interested in that topic. I was interested in this very specific topic of what the drive for recognition means for human beings and why it's the source of so much of our misery. But thinking about this problem led Rousseau and led me through Rousseau to a version of the problem of theodicy. I don't think that the problems of theodicy are of interest only to someone who has a Christian worldview. I think it's a very deep question that motivates human beings. Is the world as a whole something that in some sense you can affirm as a whole? That you can find good, or at least benign, or at least a place where the good can be realized. So I think the project of Theodicy and Rousseau boils down to something like this. It starts from a kind of Christian, the same place that a Christian viewpoint looks at, it starts from. Namely, it starts from a view of the world. It looks at the world and sees that the world is just thoroughly permeated by suffering, by evil, by alienation, by enslavement, by domination, and wants to ask what the source of that domination is. And what Rousseau is, I think, driven to show is that there is nothing intrinsic to human nature. There is nothing intrinsic to human nature and to the world we inhabit that makes all of those things a necessary outcome for us. He has, I think, a very modest version of theodicy. It's modest in this sense. He wants to show that there's nothing in nature, nothing in human nature, and nothing in nature as a whole that precludes the realization of the most important human goods that there are. Being free, being happy, finding love, finding recognition. What Rousseau does is show, or what Rousseau tries to do, and I think he's to some extent successful in doing this, is to show both why in the human condition all of the bad things are such likely outcomes. So he's very sensitive to those aspects of our condition that are dangerous to us, that make the alienation, the unfreedom such likely outcomes. But what he's interested in showing is that there's nothing in us and nothing in the world that necessitates those evils. And so theodicy for him has, what's at stake for him in theodicy is showing that there's nothing built into the order of things that requires our unfreedom, our unhappiness, our vices. And that means there's at least reason for thinking that attempts to change the world might succeed. That's what I think mostly at issue for him. It's not an attempt to convince us that the world is the best of all possible worlds, or that history is moving in a direction that necessarily will realize the best things that are available to us. Those are all bad faith forms of theodicy, I think. But it's the very bare idea that improving the human situation is not doomed from the beginning. And therefore, it's rational to try to do that in whatever ways are available to you to do that. There are no guarantees of success. In fact, everything seems to point to the likelihood that you won't be successful. But there's nothing in the nature of things that says that you will not succeed. And so, given that, you must try in the ways that are available to you. That's what makes sense to me about that's why the project of secular theodicy may still have some meaning for us, may still have some importance for us.